Yep,
You're recording?
let's get back
You're,
into it. Yes, this is WealthLab Strategy Trading, where me, Glitch, and then on my left, VK, and on my right, Cone, talk about our live trading with WealthLab and strategy trading. And I share my trading strategies and how I'm doing in these trading systems. So it's been a little bit of a reversal. When we started the series, we had nothing but up days, and now we are seeing some drawdown.
yeah, which is always a good time to get in. That's the logic behind it. Obviously, you must have a couple of positions, right?
Well, let's
Or
take
you
a look.
fully loaded.
I'm running the meta strategy now, my production version with fixed position sizing, so we're not going to see the benefit of the compounding. But let's take a look at our drawdown curve, and let's view, since we're using fixed position sizing, let's view kind of the fixed drawdown, the dollar drawdown, and we could leave the benchmark here. So yeah, let's zoom in. We could see this severe drop. So we're sitting at like a $11,000 drawdown in the starting capital of 200,000. So yeah, we're kind of in the drawdown phase. I mean, we're not at the high drawdown of the past 3 years, which was like something around 20,000. So we're about halfway to the maximum drawdown that we've seen. We could also see it in the profit curves. Like I remember saying, last week we were looking like right around here, and I was saying we expect this knife juggler to now get into a drawdown, and yeah, sure enough, it turned down, and we are in the drawdown phase. But as the drawdown comes in, then other strategies in this meta system kick in and start buying. So we had a couple entries in the glitch indicators no hold, and there's been a few more entries into that today, and we have another entry in one of my TQQQ strategies that we'll talk about today called triple threat. So you guys remember triple threat, right, from Wealth Signals?
Yep.
So
What's
triple
the, I was going to ask what the percentage, the win rate's pretty high on that one, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to run it here as a standalone. So triple threat runs on TQQQ. So this is another one that will scale into TQQQ as the market goes down when the first strategies are like getting into a drawdown. Then if the market keeps going down, then this triple threat is one of the ones that will kind of keep averaging down and waiting for that eventual rebound. So we got the first entry the other day in triple threat. So it has a position size of 25% of equity. When we break that down in the meta strategy, however, let's open up the Patreon version of the meta strategy. So here in the meta strategy, triple threat is sizing to 2.5% of equity. So that means that at the end of the day, it can get up to 10% of the total capital of the meta strategy. But when we run it by itself, we'll use 25% of equity, so it could get all of the capital here. And let's start it at 100,000, and let's run it on TQQQ all data. So this thing can take up to 4 positions. And here we have our equity curve. And what I like about it is the low drawdown and the nice smooth ascent here. So you see, certain periods where it does fail, like here, for example, we had a failure, but then, in not too long of a time, it's able to recover. But we see like a nice little up step here. And if I remove the benchmark, and we can kind of see that a little bit more clearly. So there is the equity curve profile for triple threat.
With really low exposure.
Yes, extremely low exposure on this one.
Yeah, if you probably look at the year, the EAR metrics that you implemented, I mean, it's extremely high compared to the benchmark. I mean, look at this. This is like, I don't know, this is a number that, what is it, like 200,
324.
Yeah, I mean, 200, yeah, what is it, 20 times more than what the buy and hold is representing. You know, that's a high number.
So yeah, we have only a total exposure of 3.5%. So yeah, this thing, you know, just tries to get in and out quickly, timing those recoveries in TQQQ. So
Yeah.
that's this week's strategy, triple threat. So should we see how it did in the overall meta strategy? Let's run our meta strategy that uses percent of equity sizing. And okay, here we go. So here's our overall equity curve. We could see, you know, we've got our drawdown here, kind of ticked back up a little yesterday, but let's go to the profit curves and see where triple threat is here on the graph. It is the green one. So since it doesn't get in that often, it's kind of lower down on the curves. So it's a lesser contributor, but still a positive gain overall. A nice member of the meta strategy, I would say.
Yeah, it's you know, there are a couple of strategies that are basically at the bottom, but those are the ones who only get in at very special situations, and so that is one of them. And what is that?
Dion, I always like to see a chart with some of the trades on them. Do you want to show that?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I did want to show some of the triple threat trades. Let's take a look and see how it did here on the chart. So here is our most recent entry. Yesterday we entered at the open, so that trade is obviously still open. But if we go back, let's see the last previous trade here for triple threat was in September of 2024, and that turned out to be a 10% gainer. And then we go back to August 2024, we had a 17% winner. In July, we wound up with the losing trade of 7%. And
So those all look like those were all single entries so far, and then
so here's a double.
Here you got a double.
So this one actually entered two on the same bar. So that's pretty interesting. It can do that. And both of these were 11%. So it's like a 22% gain on that full position there. And then prior to that, we had a 4%. So you can see, you know, here's a 1% loss. So you can see triple threat is good at getting substantial gains in a short amount of time. Thus, its high exposure adjusted return, EAR metric that VK loves to call out there. So that's the dynamics of the triple threat strategy. Let's see if we can find one that had like all four positions.
You know, and I also like I also like the WealthLab score, by the way. I think that's also a very good metric to look at. And what I like about this one, the strategy, and I'm just looking at where it gets in, that it sometimes even gets in on places. As here, it looks like, oh, it's getting in when there's a deep fall. But I saw a trade just now where it was kind of sideways, you know, so it goes sideways and still gets in. So it's an interesting logic behind it, and it's pretty successful. So, and
Yep.
it's long now, so good, cool.
So do you guys feel it has a place in the meta strategy?
Definitely, definitely. I think, I'm just throwing that out now. Oh, it would be interesting to see these lines that are all at the bottom who hardly get in, and just see those strategies. How would they look? I mean, you need the other ones, the more active ones, to get frequently trades and to get in. Otherwise, you miss out the full movement. But this is one that gets in rarely, but is right at the spot very
Yep.
often.
Yeah, it gets in rarely, but highly accurate. So
Yeah.
yeah, here's one where it took all 4 of the positions. So it's, totally exposed here in this one. So it bought this one in January 2022, and that one was a failure. So then we came down and we bought a couple of more in January 24th. So this one was January 10th. So then January 24th, we had to wait a little while before we got a couple other entries, and then we even got another entry. So there's the 4th one. So then they all exited on February 1st. So we have a roughly 10% loss on that first one, but then a 16, 16, and 10% gain on the other 3. So that's kind of how the multi position dynamic worked there with triple threat. So that was a good outcome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this one will go on my Patreon this week, and I think that about wraps it up for this week's WealthLab Strategy Trading. Any final thoughts, guys?
No, looks good.
Not for me.
All right, well, enjoy the markets and enjoy your trading, and see you all on the WealthLab forums. All right, bye.
Hey,
Cheers.
bye.